Hey guys, Chung from the WGC and welcome to another cool painting tutorial. Well, okay, I don't really do painting tutorials, but this time around, a few of the WGC community members were asking me how I do in my towel stuff, so I figured I'd just show them in a cool video. What I'm doing is called pattern tinting. It's nothing new and I don't even know if it's the proper name for it, but that's what I'm calling it. Pattern tinting. Whatever. You can actually see more of this technique in a video lesson made for miniwargaming.com if you're a Vault member, so check it out if you haven't already. He goes more in depth about how to use this trick. In this video, I will be doing it with the Tau XV-8 crisis suit, but it works just as well on troops like the Fire Warrior. You will just have to be more patient with working a pattern on smaller parts. It's way more easier and very apparent on bigger models like the Devilfish. I will probably try using the orange tint on my Pathfinders and the purple tint on my stealth suits just to mix it up a bit. It does come out a little dark, but if you want a lighter color, just remember to pattern more white on the model. You will see. Let's just get to it. And here's the parts and paints list I'll be using throughout this tutorial. If you're going to ask me what the equivalent colors are for different paint brands, I'm just going to give you the same answer, whatever's closest or whatever looks better for you. I'm the type of painter that just picks up a color and goes with it. If I don't get the exact color, I will mix the paints together to get the right color I want. So I decided to do this whole model in pieces because it's easier to lay down the pattern when it's in pieces. You can do it with it all put together, but it's just easier this way. The only thing I put together was the 3 pieces of the body and the, I believe it's the burst cannon together, but everything else is in its own piece. So we'll go ahead and lay the primer down. Now, I wiffle balled this. I had to do an extra step because I ran out of black primer, so I had to use white primer, so that means I had to lay down the white primer and then base coat it black. What I should have done is just primed it black and then just go directly to making the pattern with the white paint. Now for all the new people out there just starting out with airbrushing, I get this question a lot, like how far are you supposed to spray the primer and how much do you put on. Now primer is meant to just put on the surface so that your paint could stick to it. Okay, you don't have to put an inch of layer of primer on like I've seen people do, and just totally covers up, you know, all the details and everything. And you're wondering why the Vallejo primer is peeling like an orange. Okay, you don't have to put that much of a layer. If you can see here, you can see some of the gray showing through. That's good enough. It'll stick to the model. Now as you can see here, I'm also spraying pretty close to the model. That's because I'm shooting at about 10 to 15 psi's. Now if you're just starting, I suggest you spray further away at a higher psi, about 20, 25, until you get used to it. Because if you spray this close at a low psi and your hands just kind of stop or move too slow across the model, the paint will build up and you'll get too wet, or you get a splotchy area, and that's not a good thing. Now we'll use Minitaire Raven Black and go ahead and base coat the model black. Now again, like I said, I wiffle balled here. I should have just used black primer and be done with it. Okay, now here comes the fun part. We're going to use a stencil here. This stencil here has a lot of, curves and all these shapes and stuff, which is what we want. We want that randomness. At least that's, what I'm trying to achieve here. Also, you can see how big this stencil is. You can get a bunch of them, on Amazon for pretty cheap. Okay, so this is the fun part. We're going to lay the stencil down up against the surface of the model, pretty much anywhere, because I'm doing this really random. Now you can do it uniform as you wish as well. The whole point here is to just lay the stencil down and kind of do an overspray so that the edge shows up hard, and then it feathers out. So you just keep doing that and then move the stencil down a few millimeters and then do it again, and then you just do it randomly. And then sometimes you can switch the angle and then go over it again, on the patterns, crisscrossing and stuff like that. Now the wider the area, the more of the color of the tint's going to show up. So in this case, red. So in the brighter white areas, it's going to be more red versus where it's black and you're just going to see black. So I just move it randomly and just make these really cool patterns and just go with the flow. So let's go ahead and let the video run, and you'll see how I'm doing these patterns. Also, you'll notice that there's some points where I don't even use the stencil, like, you know, a little corner edge or something, and I just want it to be white so it shows up. So I just spray that part, just a little spurt here and there, just to, you know, balance everything out. Now, I know I'll get this question about using maybe a business card or something. The good thing about the stencil is that the surface is not porous. Okay, now when you're using a business card or something, cutting shapes out or something that's porous, the paint will sink into the material and then drag and then feather. It's really weird, it's hard to explain, but you'll get like the spittle effect on the edges. So it's better to just use a stencil, and the stencils really don't cost that much, and you could use, you know, patterns and everything like that, you know, for other models and stuff and other techniques. So stencils are, you know, your friend. So you get a bunch of them, and again, at Amazon for pretty cheap. And there's tons of different ones out there. You make fire effects and stuff like that as well. So it's good to just check out. Now on the leg here, what I'm doing here is just patterning, you know, the piece of armor, because everywhere else on the leg it's going to be painted black. So there's really no point in, you know, patterning, you know, the black parts that we're going to paint over anyways. As you notice, as the pieces get smaller, you notice the spacing gets closer together, as well as you could also use the rounded edges, use the smaller rounded edges to make the different patterns. Now I'm working on the antenna here, and this is a very small piece, so again, closer spacing. And then what you'll notice here is that I'm spraying a lot less overspray, so a lot more paint gets on the stencil itself. Now we'll take the ghost tint, and in this case fresh blood, and then spray it over the model. Now the trick to this is that the more you spray each layer on top of each other, the darker of the color will get, in this case red. So the more you put, the more red it's going to get, and then if you layer it enough, it's going to get really dark red. So you just got to kind of find the balance of what looks good or what doesn't. There's also a thing that Les and I found out about the ghost tint. Actually, he found out first. I didn't believe him, but the ghost tints will bleed through the layer of paint on top. He says that what you should do is wait for it to completely cure, so you gotta wait like 24 hours after spraying on the ghost tint. But I also found that sometimes, for some weird odd reason, it still bleeds through even months after it's been painted on. So I'm not quite sure exactly why it does that. So if I was to like make the symbols on top of the layer where the ghost tint was and it bleeds through, I'm gonna have to do a couple more layers over, which you might see in later on in this video. So with this problem, you want to wait about 24 hours, let it cure, and then put a clear coat on top of it or whatever else you're going to put next. And that's pretty much how you do the pattern in tinting. From here on in the video, we're just going to do regular modeling and finish up the model. You could stop here and then go try the pattern tinting yourself, or just continue watching. So here's where we glue the model together. I'm using Gorilla Super Glue, which is one of my favorite brands. I haven't really worked out the basing yet, and normally I don't go too extravagant on the first test model. It's funny, if you look at my armies, you'll know which ones were my prototype models, as they don't have any fancy basing on them. I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do with the basing. Someone mentioned snow, which would look nice as it really contrasts against the red, but I'm not sure yet. So after some dry fitting and gluing, the figure is ready. I'm leaving out the weapons as I might magnetize them later, or I might just pick a load out and just glue it onto the model. I'm still not sure yet. The next step is to put on a coat of matte varnish. I'm using Liquitex matte varnish. You will see me put on various coats of varnish, either matte, satin, or gloss, at various stages when painting a model. This is for various reasons. For this reasons, I'm doing it to protect the paint layer underneath this coat. I'm also prepping the surface to be able to absorb the paint better for the next stage. I actually wrote a blog article called Layering on the Clear Coat Why, where I talk about the reasons in applying layers of clear coats during the painting process. Check it out if you haven't already. Next, we're going to use Minitaire's Raven Black to paint all the internal skeletons of the suit as well as other various spots. I'm using the Winsor Newton Series 7 Miniature No. 1 brush. The Minitaire works great as a brush paint for me as I thin my paints for brush work. I am able to just use it from the bottle and layer it wherever I want. To fill in the panel lines, I opted to use a black .005 Pigma Micron pen. I find going through the panel lines with the pen gives it a solid hardline look, perfect for my my Gundam, Tau model, whatever. It gives it a more robotic anime look. I'm just saying. Now, using Future Floor Shine, I lay a gloss coat to protect the work underneath and to prep the surface for some decal action in the next step. Applying decals is pretty easy, and I explained it in detail in my How to Apply Decals videos, which is linked in the description for this video. I use Microscales, Microset, and Microsol to help me give that decal painted on look. It's really easy. I cut the decal out from the sheet that came with the box. Use some tweezers to dip the decal into warm water for about 10 seconds and then let it set out for another 30. While it's sitting out, I apply the Microset onto the area where the decal is being applied. You just moisten the surface with the brush. Then using an X-Acto knife, I carefully slide the decal into position as close as possible and then make any final adjustments. I let it sit on the model for a few more seconds and then take a paper towel, suck up any excess Microset around the decal, and then I apply the Microsol on top of the decal. This is a solution that burns the decal into the surface of the model. I let it sit for a few more minutes and run another brush full of Microsol onto the decal and then just let it dry. It'll take about an hour or so. While I'm waiting, I went ahead and used Minitaire Dusty Ground to paint one of the panels on the leg. I suppose that's a ranking mark, I'm not sure. With Minitaire Snow White, I just went ahead and marked up the suit with some easy line marks. I also used some red and green and yellow and just dotted the lenses. After the decals are dried, I applied on the final coat of satin varnish to complete the model. I did use a matte coat, but it came out way too dull. If it matters, at the end I also took a drop of Future Floor Shine and dotted the lenses so it would have that glass look. And that's it guys, thanks for watching and I hope you got something out of this video. For more cool wargaming stuff, don't forget to check out the WGC website where you can see other producers' videos as well as member videos and blogs and podcasts and the whole 9 yards. Until the next video, I will see you out there.